Choo choo, choo choo. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is the sound of the crazy train pulling away from the station. Today we are taking a look at the Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow Daybell case again. So today we're going to focus more on the phone call that Chad Daybell had with several crematoriums and cemeteries and inquiring about the cost of actual cremation of Charles Vallow, not even 2 hours after he had been murdered by Alex Cox. But before we take a look at that and we listen to the actual phone call that was released by the Chandler Police Department, and the only thing that has been edited from this is the actual name of the individuals that Chad spoke with. But before we do that, we're going to go back on the same day, July 11th, 2019. On that day in particular, Charles had come to the home where Lori Vallow was residing at the time in Chandler, Arizona, to pick up JJ. Now, what he didn't know was that Lori had already put certain things in motion. She had set up a scenario where Charles would show up at the house and the only person there would be Alex Cox before returning home. She needed to buy enough time between the time Charles would show up and Alex would actually murder him. This is in the evidence, ladies and gentlemen, and we're not seeing the entire picture, but now we're getting a better picture of the actual day itself. He has got JJ and they are out shoe shopping. Charles shows up at the home. A confrontation happens between him and Alex. Alex pulls out his gun, shoots Charles dead square in the chest, knocking him to the ground with his, the bullet, the projectile, knocks him to the ground, then steps over the top of him and shoots him again. This is an evidence because the bullet went through Charles and ricocheted off the floor underneath him. He said that he shot him on the 911 call. But before we ever get to the 911 call, again, in evidence that it has been released that Alex Cox, before he called 911, called Lori Vallow, his sister. Yes, what would the reason be to call her? To inform her of the deed was done, that he had now taken care of Charles, that Charles is out of the way and cannot be, to her anymore, and that he will never be able to take JJ from her. This, again, unfortunately, is an evidence that we know right now in public records that has been released from this case. Then after the call with Lori, he hangs up the phone and then calls 911. The police come, and as we know, the Chandler Police Department did almost no investigation at all at the scene and bought the story that he shot him in self-defense. If they had looked closer, they would have clearly seen 2 entry wounds, 2 gunshots. One was at close range and would have had what they call stifling from actual gunpowder that would have been released from close range on the actual clothing itself of Charles. But they didn't. They bought the self-defense story. Again, Alex said he was hit in the back of the head with a baseball bat. No lump, no cut, no need for medical aid, nothing at all. From somebody who had been hit with an aluminum baseball bat in the back of the head. He certainly didn't look the part. But again, no investigation. Now, after that happened, not even 2 hours later, from the time that Alex called Lori and Lori and him had their brief conversation, not even 2 hours later, Chad Daybell gets on the phone and starts calling mortuaries to inquire about the cost to have someone cremated. The first place he called was the Sun Mortuary and Cemetery in Chandler, Arizona. It is time-stamped and has been released. The records of that have been released by the Chandler Police Department, and I have an actual transcript of that phone call. That phone call, he calls, and you're going to hear it here, in an unedited form. The only thing that I have taken out of the entire audio recording is bleeped out the actual individual's name who he is speaking with, because they don't need to be part of this. So he calls and he says that he's trying to find the cost of cremation for his uncle. That his uncle is being sent to the medical examiner, and that he needs to know the price of cremation, then shipping back to Louisiana. He gets the price, around $2,000. Then he politely ends the call. He gives them the name of Chad Daybell, D-A-B-E-L-L, dropping the Y from his actual name. Oh, but you can clearly hear this is Chad Daybell. The Chandler Police Department has confirmed that it is Chad. The Mr. Wood from the prosecuting attorney in this case has confirmed this phone call is Chad. It has been voice matched forensically to Chad. So there is no doubt that this is actually Chad's voice calling this actual mortuary. You would think that a man who used to be an undertaker would have some kind of idea of what the cost would be to cremate someone, because in short order, he's going to know exactly how much it costs, because he's about to, shortly thereafter, acquire about the cost of cremation for at least one more person. Is this why he decided to burn Tylee's body? Because he didn't want to spend the $2,000? Is this why he decided to, just bury JJ, without doing anything at all, instead of trying to cremate him by fire? Maybe Tylee was the first one. And if it would have been successful, he would have, burned JJ as well in his attempt to do a cremation there on a pile of wood in his backyard. We don't know. But we know that he was never going to cremate Tammy, because it's against the actual church's beliefs and his personal belief. Now, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has nothing against cremation itself. It's just his section of actual beliefs within his LDS community does not believe in actual cremation. So, take it as it is. But I'm going to play you now the 5-minute audio recording of the call that Chad had, Sun Mortuary and Cemetery. And then after this actual audio recording, I'll have a conclusion for us all after it. So make sure you stick around.
That was great answer.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, my name is with their calls. How can I help you today?
We just had our death in the family, and we really don't want anything but a cremation, and then to send the cremains to a family in Louisiana. It's just a simple, nothing other than a cremation and sending him to his family for her service in Louisiana. So, is there any way to know a ballpark price on that?
Yes. And I'm sorry for you all.
Thank you.
Okay, let me transfer you over to the director who can assist you with the pricing. What is your name, please?
It is Chad Daybell.
How do you spell the last name, please?
D-A-B-A-L, Daybell.
How are you related to the person account?
I'm his nephew.
And then also, this is for the Valley of the Stones in Chandler, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, he lives there in Chandler. I live in Iowa, so I'm just trying to help out.
Okay, thank you. Yes, your uncle's name for reference, please.
He is John Daybell.
Your last name?
D-A-B-A-L.
Okay.
His name is John.
Do you have a middle name?
Myron.
M-Y-R-O-N?
Yeah.
And Chad, what is your phone number in case we get disconnected?
This number, 515, I don't actually know my own number. Let me look real quick.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Is he in a nursing home, hospital, or residence?
He passed away in a hospital. I don't know the details. Probably.
Yeah, it's just for, to know, because sometimes it's different if it's a residential or hospital or a nursing home.
I think he may have sending into the medical examiner. I'm not sure. I should have had more information before I called. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Alright, cremation with shipping. To which city?
New Orleans. Mm-hmm.
Okay, one moment please, Chad, but stay on the line. Let me transfer you over to the director who can assist you with that.
Alright, thank you.
Hello, Chad.
Yeah.
Thank you for holding. I do have the director Clarissa to further assist you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Senior director with Gallows from Mortuary, Cemetery. I understand that your uncle passed away.
Yes. And I'm just starting the process for the family. He didn't have many relatives. I'm his nephew. I live in Iowa. But what I
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, sad to see him go. Yeah, I think he's going to the medical examiner. I don't know all the details, but what the family basically wants is just to have him cremated there in Chandler and then have the cremains shipped to New Orleans, and we'll deal with the service later. So just trying to get a ballpark price.
Okay, so for a cremation, we are able to do our cremation for $1,695. Now, what that's going to include is the transportation into our care, the transportation to and from our crematory, our basic professional fees, as well as our crematory fee. Now, there's going to be a couple other charges there for you. So we are going to have death certificates, which are $20 a piece with the processing fee, $15 permit fee, and then we're able to do that transfer to the mail for you, and that's $150 fee for you.
Okay. Like UPS or something, I guess.
Okay.
So close about 2,000 probably. Kind of a ballpark, yeah.
Close to that.
Okay. Well, that helps me a lot. I'm going to call one or two others, but I'll get back to you if we come that direction. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. If you need anything else, give me a call.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Let us not forget, after Charles Vallow was murdered by Alex Cox, Lori only sent a couple of text messages to Charles's actual adult children, sons, to let them know that their dad was dead. Not even bothering to make a simple condolence phone call, just text messages. Then she just blocked them because everything else had been put into motion. Everything was starting. That was the first actual piece of the puzzle. Get rid of Charles so there was nothing that could bother him or slow them down. Move to Rexburg. Put the next part into motion. Get rid of Tammy. Get rid of the children. And then everything else would be set because, ladies and gentlemen, let us not forget, the two of them had a day in mind that Chad had hypothesized about in his book and Lori had talked about on her podcast with Melanie, a day that the world was going to end and they would move over to the other side of the veil. They already had a date. From before Charles was ever murdered, they knew the date was coming when they were going to have to move to the other side of the veil. Was it by mass suicide? Do we need to take care of everybody else on this side first to make sure that they had been moved over to the other side and then they were both going to die by suicide? Was that the actual end for Lori and Chad? Did they think that, well, we're just never going to be around long enough, we don't care? But here we are. Thank you for joining me today. I hope that everybody enjoyed this content today. And if you did, please give this video a thumbs up. And I really would appreciate if you haven't subscribed, yet, to click that subscribe button and click that bell icon down below so you'll be notified when I upload new content. I upload new content in this channel every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But some weeks I go 7 days a week, especially on cases like this, as new information and actual documentation is released. Thank you again for joining me. You stay safe out there.